Okay, so in this video, we're moving on to a new thing, and what I'm going to be teaching on is the use-mention distinction. The use-mention distinction. So to get a grapple on this, I'm going to give two sentences that should seem a little bit odd. So suppose I say this. Melanie is my friend. And I also say, Melanie has a nice sound to it. Now, both of these sentences should be a little interesting, and I'd like you to think about why. You can even pause. Like, what's funny about these sentences? Well, here's one thing. Both of them are wrong. um, and here's why. In this sentence, I'm using the word, putting quotes around Melanie, so that means I'm referring to a word. So then I'm saying that a word is my friend. Okay, and that's what mention is. Mention is when you're referring to a word. Okay. The other hand, when I say Melanie has a nice sound to it, that also doesn't make sense because I'm talking about a person, right? How can a person have a nice sound to them? So in this sentence, I'm using use. Okay, now if that didn't quite make sense, it's okay. I'm going to explain a little bit more. So suppose I say this. Melanie is my friend. And I say, Melanie has a nice sound to it. Okay? These sentences are fine. They make perfect sense. Here, when I don't put the word quotes around it, I'm talking about the actual person, Melanie. Okay, so when you don't put the quotes around it, you're able to actually refer to the real person. Okay? And that's use. I'll just put that here, use. When you use quotes, that's mention. And here, when I put quotes, now I'm not referring to Melanie anymore. I'm actually just referring to the word, Melanie. Okay, here the word, this is referring to this word, Melanie. That says Melanie right there. Okay, so that's the difference between use and mention. So just to say it one more time, when you're mentioning, you're using the quotation marks and you're referring to the word. When you're using, you're not going to use quotation marks and you're referring to the actual thing itself. Okay, and that's the use-mention distinction. If you're still struggling, I'm going to give some exercises during the Zoom for you to kind of get this a little bit more clearly in your head. But before I move on to that, I just want to give a funny example where the use-mention distinction is blurred. So imagine somebody says this. They say, love is just a word. Let's say they're kind of bitter. Love is just a word. Now, what are they saying? Are they saying this? Love is just a word? Or are they saying this? Love is just a word. Okay, now if they're saying this, love is just a word, sorry, that's what that says, then it's false. Of course, love itself is not just a word. That's not what they mean. But if they say this, love is just a word, well, yeah, that's true, but it's obvious. Like, why do you need to tell us that? Melanie is a word too. Melanie, when you put quotes. So that's something just to puzzle a little more. So what do people really mean when they're saying that? So that's the use-mention distinction. We'll do some exercises in the Zoom. Good. We are done for today.